Hey, welcome to the Coach Howard Basketball Show. I'm so excited to be back. This show today is going to be one hell of a show. And Jerry is joining me at the beginning of the show to talk about Coach Howard's top 10. And then after that, Coach Tony Rice will join me as we have some guests coming on as well. And the show today is called Discipline and Consequences. You don't want to miss this. But with further ado, Jerry, how you doing, man?
Hey, great. You know, we've made a lot of basketball stops since we were last on the show, and the rankings are really going to be exciting, and people will enjoy this.
Hey, we're going to get right into Coach Howard's top 10 because it has changed from the last time we've been here. Some surprises. Some teams are still doing their thing, but we're about to dig right into it. We're going to start out with my number 10 team in Coach Howard's top 10. Gahanna. Jerry, I've got Gahanna at number 10 today because Gahanna is still playing. They're 15-3, 6-1 in the conference. I like the way they're playing. I've seen them a couple of times and they play hard. Give me your thoughts on Gahanna.
I like where Gahanna's at 15-3. I like the fact that you've got them number 10. I think that's a good ranking for the way they've played throughout the season. Look for them to be a surprise on the tournament bracket.
I can't wait till next week. By the way, I'm going to tell you next Sunday at 6 p.m., we're going to have the Coach Howard Show tournament selection. And my special guest in studio will be Zach Fleer, Jake Spiegel, and of course, the legend himself, Jerry Watson. We'll go over the whole bracket and we're going to talk about the upcoming tournament. I can't wait. It's that exciting time of year.
March Madness.
That's what it's called. Let's get to number 9. Number 9. Pickerington North. Now, Jerry, I've got them at number 9. I've seen them take a crushing loss to a young Reynoldsburg team that has struggled, been a lot of up and down. They're 14-3, 6-1 in the conference. Give me your thoughts on Pickerington North.
I like where you got them. They lost one out at Westerville Central. Bates has done a real steady job with this team, and I like them being where they're at. They could be a little higher, but that's a good landing spot for them where you have them.
You know, it was a tough loss for them, but I talked to Coach Bates, and he said that Westerville Central team, they're coming, man. You know, they're athletic. He said they're starting to put it together. This is another team that you want to look out for when it's come tournament time, Pickerington North, because they're gonna knock off some teams.
Well, they're scrappy and they play hard. So those elements alone make you a tough out when you play.
Yeah, they're coached well. Coach Bates has a great program over there and has done a fabulous job since he's been there. Number 8. Hilliard Bradley. Hilliard Bradley is 12-4, 5-2 in the conference, but I'm telling you right now, they are not a team to sleep on.
Well, again, you know, Coach is very strategic with his style. They play his system to the T. They're great at scouting their next opponent, and they're just a havoc to play with the style of play. So I can live with where they're ranked at.
Well, Coach Norris does a great job over there as well. He always seems to get his teams up, you know, to play in the big games. They've had a couple of upsets this season, and I look for them to do a great job, too, in the tournament.
Well, like I said, I've only seen them get beat really bad. I know Richmond Heights came in and beat them, you know, during the holidays. But in this area, if they're on the bracket with you, be completely ready.
Woo! You heard it here. He said, if they're in your bracket, so coaches, be careful. You may not want to bring Bradley in your bracket because you said they better be completely ready, right?
Oh, you have to be. You can't come half prepared because when the fourth quarter comes around, you know, they're going to be running their stuff and up by 10 or 11. So if you play them, you got to know what you're getting into.
Yeah, I know. I've been watching Coach for quite a while, and he seems to get it done year in and year out. Let's go to number 7. Dublin Jerome. They're 14-4, but here, look at this, what they are in the conference. They're 7-0 in the conference. I like the Dublin Jerome team. I think they don't have the size that they had last year, but they have that grit and that toughness. And they're going to come to play you every game. Talk about Dublin Jerome.
I think the expectations that people had for them going into the season, they're not there. But I think on the bracket, that's a really tough game if you're in their bracket. I think that's a tough game. I think they're a tough team. They just haven't lived up to the expectations, but that don't mean that they can't kick in for them around tournament time.
Well, they're 14-4, man. I mean, they're 14-4. I've seen them play a few times. You know, I like them. They're tough. They play well together. They're very disciplined. They defend. They can shoot the ball. They get after it. And if you're coming to play them and you're not getting after it the way they are and you're not shooting the ball right on that particular day and you're not defending them, they're going to beat you.
Well,
so
I think they showed some things against Reynoldsburg. They were down and they fought back and got that game. So those are the kind of attributes that you want to see going into the tournament.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to my number 16. Africentric. They're also 14-4, 11-0 in the City League. I like Africentric. I like they have grit, they have toughness, they're coached well. But when they get into the tournament, I think they're going to be a hard beat because they're so athletic. They've got all the right pieces. And I think they have an opportunity to go to Dayton.
Well, again, they've struggled sometime with shooting. But again, when you've got Dalen Swain, I mean, hey, you can do a lot of things in Division III. I don't see anybody getting in their way, and they should be all the way into Dayton when it comes to regional and championship time.
I think Dalen showed when they played against Pick Central, as we were there, I think that he showed that he could take over a game at any time because it was a stretch where he took over that game and he showed what he did,
George, is he went competitive when it was time. And that's what you expect a guy to sign with Xavier to do.
Yeah, you do expect that. And he showed why I think he'll be a very good player at that level.
Oh, yes.
We're going to take a commercial break. We'll be back with my top 5. Hey, it's about to get gritty now.
Well, you know, hey, it's 5. We done been through 10 through 6. Now 1 through 5. Hey, that's when the controversy starts.
We'll see you in a minute after this commercial.
Hello, I am Annie J. Ross Womack, the Executive Director of the Ohio Sickle Cell and Health Association, and I'm here to talk to the parents and student athletes about a very important topic. The NCAA has instituted different standards for all divisions of student athletes. Before you can play sports in any college or university, you must present a negative trait status or hemoglobin status documentation. Your hemoglobin status is taken at birth with the newborn screening. And what they do is they run your blood for any abnormality or any birth defect. There are thousands of newborn screening birth defects in this country. For more information about sickle cell disease, sickle cell trait testing, you can call our offices at 614-228-0157. Or you can visit us via web at ohiosicklecell.org.
Hey, we're getting ready to dive into this top 5. And during the commercial, we had an interesting conversation. We've got Coach Tony Rice in the building. Of course, he agreed with Jerry on a couple of things, which I kind of expected that, but it's okay because that's my guy. And I wish I could get him on here to say something. But we're about to dive into this top 5. But before I do that, visit City Living. You can go online and visit them at cityliving.store. It's a beautiful furniture store. They've got some very nice things in there. They were kind enough to sponsor a sofa for us, these 2 chairs, matter of fact, and we appreciate that. But if you get an opportunity, visit cityliving.store and you'll find anything that you need for your home. But right now, we're about to dive into Coach Howard's top 5. And coming in at number 5, which is going to be a shock to everybody, Pickerington Central. Pick Central. Now hold on, because we really disagree on this. But I bring Pick Central in at 13-5, 7-0 in the conference, because I've seen them play. I know this team probably better than a lot of people. And right now they still are not playing up to their capability. And I believe that if this team goes up against some of these top teams and they're not doing the things that they're supposed to do, they're not defending, they're not being disciplined on that particular day, Devin Royal can step up and have 25 points, 30 points. But if his surrounding cast is not doing what they're supposed to do, they could easily get defeated. But right now, I believe if they play the way they're supposed to play, going into the tournament, and when they get to the tournament, they can come out of this region. But I'll tell you this, Jerry, it's not going to be easy. Go ahead, let me have it.
Hey, again, it's like boxing, right? You got to knock the champion out. Nobody around here has come close to them. You've got Devin Royal, who is one of the finest forwards in the land, okay? They've tested the waters. They know what it's like to win a state title. These other teams are dreaming what it's like to win a state title. I think at the end of the day, they're undefeated around here, and to me, they're the top team in this area, and they just beat a good Africentric team on their court. And so what can you say? I mean, none of those other, if you give them Pick Central schedule, all the teams that you have above them, they would have the same identical record.
But Africentric should have beat Pick Central. We were standing right there.
You know, woulda, coulda, shoulda.
I understand that, but Africentric had crucial turnovers in the end where they practically gave Devin 6 points. They turned the ball over to him. Right. He went down for a dunk every time. This is what I'm going to say right here. This is what I'm going to say. You've got Devin Royal and a supporting cast. You've got Turner. You've got Markel. You've got Gavin Headings. And if those guys don't support him and Jonathan Hedgepath, that's your starting five. If those other guys don't come through and do what they're supposed to, and you're not getting anything from 6'8" Gavin Headings and Turner, who has struggled this season, hasn't had a good season as far. Markel, been a little up and down. He can score, but and Hedge can hit that three. Yeah. That you're going to need those guys to step up in order for this team to be complete and play the way they play Tiger basketball for them to get to the region.
I'm glad Tony Rice is in the studio so he can hear what we're saying. Okay, the bottom line is at the end of the day, the regional finals and the team that goes to Dayton, it will be Pick Central.
I'm not saying it's not going to be.
Because the other teams just don't have that mega player that can put you on his shoulders like a Devin Royal.
But you can have a mega player, but you've got his supporting cast has to play well as well.
I'm telling you now.
Okay, we'll see.
You've got Devin Royal. Remember that. You've got Devin Royal. Then there's other guys. And some the Markel Johnson kid, he's been playing really well. You know, he's getting downhill. He's hitting the three. He's not relying on the three. He's taking what the defense is giving him. So I'm saying when you look at, and Jawan Turner is overdue to have a flashback of what he was doing last year when they won the state title.
But it can't be a flashback on one game.
Well, he got to have it because he hasn't, what he did in the state title game, he hasn't displayed that yet. But he has the capabilities, and I think his mind will reset at tournament time.
The guy that it could be a key for them is RJ. The 6'6" kid coming off the bench. He's unstoppable.
RJ was the key when they played Africentric.
Exactly right.
And so, you know, that's another weapon that we haven't talked about that they have seen what he can do in a game like that. So you have to explore that as him being an integral part of your rotation.
Another key for Pick Central is Amari Spiva.
I like Spiva. He can be exciting at times, still a little inexperienced in the half court, but he can do some exciting things in transition as a sophomore.
Well, you've heard it here. We've had our discussion on Pick Central. Now we're going to slide on down to number 4. But we'll see about Pick Central. We'll be back.
I'm telling you, again, Tony Rice is in the studio, so I'm glad we got a witness. It will be Pick Central in the regionals.
All right, let's go to number 4. Westerville North, 14-2, 9-1 in the conference. Jerry, you and I were up at Warrior Country the other night, and we watched the Westerville North, Westerville South game. I like this Westerville North team, man. I mean, they come at you. They've got a sophomore guard that is unbelievable and is probably one of the top sophomore guards in the state, if not, and definitely in Central Ohio, that people haven't heard of. Talk about this team.
Westerville, like I said, I got a chance to watch them. So seeing is believing. They are for real. I like them at 4. They could maybe be at 3, but they're good. Micah Young is good. You know, they got a solid little sophomore point guard that handles things, and they got other people that do stuff, and they look like they love playing with each other.
Talk about Micah Young, though.
Oh, what can I say? Hey, at the game's on the line, Cruz McClure has the ball at midcourt. He takes the ball from him with the score tied, gets fouled, makes 2 free throws with 1.7 seconds left, and then had a 26-point night to top that off.
They say pressure busts pipes, right?
It always has.
But it didn't bust his.
No, he was ready for the pressure and the pipe.
There we go. I like this Westerville North team. This is another team that you got to be careful with when you get into tournament time, because they're going to come at you, and they're very athletic, very well coached, and I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait for tournament time.
Man, it's March Madness. You know what I'm saying? It's the time where you put one team winning on the bracket and then you have to cross it out because you picked the wrong one. That's what's so exciting about it, because you can never get it right because teams step up to the level of March Madness.
Okay, let's go to number 3. Olentangy Orange. You know, I've liked this team. They're 15-2. They're 5-2 in conference. They just got Mikey back. I've liked this team from the beginning. They're still playing tough. They're big. They can shoot the ball. They defend the ball. They're very well coached, and they're very disciplined. Talk about Olentangy Orange.
I like Olentangy Orange. I think the strength is, I don't like their strength of schedule. So sometime a 15-2 could be a phantom 15-2. I don't know if they're ready to take that step to beat a Pick Central. I don't know if they're ready for that. I think that they're a district final team for sure, but when you talk about regionals, you know, that's some territory that they haven't experienced before. But again, Calo is a good coach, and everybody's been chattering about him, but I question him. I just have a question mark.
Hey, that's the GOAT. That's why he's here. Let's go to number 2. Olentangy Liberty. 15-2, 7-0. Jerry, I just like this team, man, especially since they got Tyler back. This team can shoot the ball. They are tough. They play well together, and they run that offense. And if you're not depending on them, they will kill you the way they run that offense. Yeah. But I like this team. They're sound, fundamentally sound, and they can score the basketball. And they got the big fella, and I don't think there's nobody in the area that can stop him.
Oh no, Tyler Kropp, he's a great player. Nossman has a great system. I like where they're at. This is one I'm not disagreeing on. But they've been on that battleground. They've played the Pick Centrals in the regional semis, and they've kind of tested that water. And I think they know how to drink that water a little better than an Olentangy Orange. So I like where they're at. They're going to have some say-so when it comes bracket time.
Well, I'm about to get to my number 1 team, and my number 1 team is a team that I've seen several times. This team, I believe, right now, is the best team in Central Ohio. They're big across the front line. Guard play is great. They've got big guards. They play good defense. They hit the glass. They play well with each other. They trust their teammates, and they're very well coached. And my number 1 team is Bishop Reedy. They're 17-0, number 1 in the state Division II, 7-0 here in Columbus. To me, this is the best team that I've seen this year in Central Ohio. Touch on that.
Again, I love Bishop Reedy. Like I said, Bissutti's been around the block. This has probably been one of his best stops with the collective kids that he's put together for this team. I question at 17-0, you know, Westerville South last year was 24-0, and I always said they haven't really played anybody. I wish we could put their schedule on this screen. I question, they haven't played anybody. Who have they played that's a top-notch team? They played Cleveland Heights, who's a solid team with several losses. But now, far as Division II in this area, I think Division II is a little weak. And I do see Reedy being the representative for the state finals. But I question that 17-0 because of the opponents that's compiled in with it.
I think Division II, I don't think there's nobody in this area that can, or surrounding area that can stop them from getting to Dayton.
Yeah, I agree with that aspect of it. But I don't think collectively, when you compile all the teams in the area, I don't think they're number one. But I had them like at 3 or 4. You know, number one is kind of huge because you're saying that they're above a team that won a state title a year ago. And I don't think that they can beat a lot of the Division I teams in the area.
I think from the team that I've watched more than once, more than twice, I think this team could beat any team in Central Ohio.
I totally,
it's okay.
I totally disagree.
That's all right.
They couldn't beat Africentric. They didn't beat them last year. I'm telling you, they haven't had any major heat in front of them. Division II is a little watered down in the area, so we have to pick them for that crown. And then they should be the representative in Dayton. But when they get to the regionals, they're going to have some fights that they wish they would have had earlier in the year with a tougher schedule.
Well, okay, so listen, this wraps up Coach Howard's Top 10. Hey, thank you for being on the show. I'm going to look forward to you being back next Sunday as we do our tournament bracket show.
Hey, it's always a pleasure to be on here. Like I said, I'm in here. I got Tony Rice in the studio. Hey, I'm cranking. Let's get it going. But ready for the next show. Hey, ta-ta.
I'll see you next week. Hey, welcome back. We're ready to get started. On today's show, I'm excited to have with me a legend. I don't know if it's in his own mind or wherever it is, but no, I'm a legend here in Columbus, Ohio that I've known for a long time. Coach Rice from Briggs High School. How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
Good. You know, I had many people tell me that you need to get Tony Rice on the show when you have a great subject that you want to put on there, because he's the guy, and we go to the same barbershop, and I don't even need to tell you the conversations that go on in the barbershop. But this guy right here knows basketball. He's done a great job at Briggs. How long have you been there, Coach?
This is my 13th year.
13 years. I remember when he first got the job, they couldn't have gotten anybody better for the job. But I will say this, that, Coach, I have to say it's probably about time that you take your talents to a bigger level.
To a bigger level.
I think that there's a lot of schools that could would really love to have you. But we're going to have a great show today, and the theme behind the show today is discipline and consequences. And you know, the gentleman that I'm bringing on the show, I asked them to come on the show because they've been in this game for a long time. And they've had players that have went on to be big-time players. They've ran successful programs and are Hall of Fame coaches. I want to introduce my first two guests, Coach Calo from Westerville South and Coach Bissutti from Bishop Reedy. How y'all doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having us on, George.
I appreciate you guys coming on my show. Coach Calo, the other night, me and Jerry was there to witness a great game with you guys in Westerville South, man. I had to bring it up because it was one of the best games I've seen all year. I mean, you know, your team got down maybe by 10 early. They fought their way back, and they came down to the end with 2 free throws. Coach, can you just speak on that rivalry just for a quick second?
Well, you know, we're in the same town. Intense. You know, it's a blessing to have a rivalry that, you know, kids get excited about. You want kids to play in front of big crowds. You want them to feel good about themselves. It's a great rivalry. We've had great games over the years. We expect to have a great contest every time we play them. It's something that we look forward to.
Good. Coach Bissutti, you guys are 17-0, I believe, right now.
Correct.
And, real quick before we dive into the show, talk about being undefeated, how much pressure that is on your guys game after game, and how you keep them together being undefeated, because Coach Calo went through this last year. And, I think you guys, before the tournament, Coach Calo, you guys were 26-0, 27-0?
Before the tournament,
Yeah.
I think we were 21-0. We got to 25-0.
Yeah. So, Coach Bissutti, how do you keep your guys together at being undefeated?
Well, as we all know, pressure is mostly self-inflicted. So the goal's not to go undefeated. The goal is to win every game, and there's a difference. To be in position and to understand, what we need to do at the end of games. The great thing about our sport is, regardless of what happens in the regular season, you have that tournament afterwards, and that's a pretty important thing. But we're in position to win the league, so all's good right now.
Well, you've been doing this a long time, both of you have. But I want to dive into this conversation piece because, it's very, to me, it's something that need to be touched on. It's been a lot of talk about this discipline and consequences and how it can affect a team. Coach Rice, how important is it to have a program that is, to have discipline in a program?
I believe it's extremely important. I believe it's very important. You have to set that out, the tone of that out from the beginning when you get the job, or when just the beginning of the year. You got to set that discipline and that toughness out at the beginning, what you stand for, and what the program stands for overall within the whole team.
Coach Calo?
Well, we all have goals, and of course, like Tony said, our goal is to win. Just be 1-0, win the next game. But there's a difference between goals and mission. And our mission is to move young people further in life. That's what we concentrate on, and to do that, I think that you have to make sure you have structure. You're helping young kids out, holding them accountable, understanding that they have to be accountable. There's a standard that they have to live up to. And you're helping a young man when you put parameters out there and you give them structure and you give them discipline. You're helping them grow a little bit, And I found that all really great players, they want to be criticized, they want to be coached up, and you're making them a little bit better. And when you don't do that, by the way, people notice, other kids notice, and you're hurting your program if you give anybody any kind of special treatment. So we try to concentrate on our standard, what we expect from every player, and that's what we try to live up to.
Coach Bissutti?
It starts, in my mind, at least with me, it's coaching my best players the hardest. And, we have a trio of seniors.
Coach, I'm going to interrupt you. Can you say that again? Please say that again.
I believe in coaching your best players hardest. And we have a core three guys, and you know who they are, George, who couldn't be any better models of how to take criticism and coaching. And, I have a program mantra, and it's a quote from Vince Lombardi that says, man has an innate need for discipline because life is puzzling. And life certainly is puzzling. And, to kind of structure guys and give them the opportunity to go through the ups and downs and trials, and how they are going to bounce back from that. That's life, right? So, we kind of try to follow that mantra, and, our guys have done a good job with that.
I'm glad that you said that, because I've had several discussions lately on coaching up your best players and how it affects the rest of the team, and how to not let your best player control your team. Like, why should your best player get away with things when the other player can't, and how that affects the other players? Coach Rice, what's your thoughts on that? If you've got your best player, but you allow your best player to miss practice, to not practice hard, to however it is, how do you think? What's your opinion on that subject right there?
I just believe, like Coach Bissutti said, I like to start from the top also. When you start that way, then you know down that the kids that are not that good, they should fall in line. Like if you let the best player get away with missing practice or going late to class and those things of that nature, then you get on the kids that's not as good as him. They're not going to ever respect your authority. You see what I'm saying? I think the respect starts with, I've always had it the same way, that the kid is the best. He better not come in late practice, not 1 minute. He should be there early. I'm really hard on the best. I had Danny Corbett a few years ago, and there was a time that I was getting a little slack from one day I needed Danny Corbett to help me bring my car back from the mechanic. So I had my other car, so Danny went and did it. So the people were coming on like that's my favorite. So I had to do a little thing on the line, and I said, if you miss 4 more practices, take 4 steps up. Then if you miss 3 or more, whatever. I went to do it all, and at the end of it, Danny Corbett was the only one that didn't miss not 1 practice. He was always on time. He ran all the sprints the hardest, and people don't understand that. They think that's a favoritism, but that was the expectation that was set out from day one with how I went at Danny or in any other of my good players. I start at the top. So I'm gonna go a little bit more. I'm gonna go more harder on you if you don't take care of business, and I've always been that way. I always tell my kids, the minute I stop yelling at you, and honestly, I probably don't care. So.
Coach Calo, you have had numerous big-time players that have went on to play big-time college basketball. What's your thoughts on that question?
Well, I guess I've been blessed because my best players have always been my hardest workers, and that's like the other 2 coaches have said. I think that's created with an understanding. You set that tone, you establish that, but they come in and as I've said before, I said great players really want to be coached. They want to be critiqued, they want to be challenged, and I think that's a big thing. We have an exit meeting at the end of the year with all our seniors. We asked them, what's good, what's bad, what we need to improve on. Last year, for example, we had Drake Carter, who's at Wright State right now. And one of the other players said, what I appreciate the most about the program is that everybody's accountable. There's no special treatment. Dre had to do exactly what everybody else had to do. That's a given. That's not something that, I look at and say, well, that's great. That's something that, we try to make sure that everybody understands that from day one.
Coach Bissutti, you've had some big-time players as well over your years. And what's your thoughts on that as well?
Like Ed said, I feel blessed also in that most of our very good players have been our hardest workers. And that when you got that, it makes it simple. What I try to instill, and it's something as simple as the first weekend of practice, our best players are getting the water and getting the equipment. There's no entitlement. There's no senior entitlement. Just because you're a senior, you're still going to do, what everybody else does. I tell my seniors all the time, I will praise the heck out of you at our banquet. But just trying to make sure everyone feels valued. And we have some older guys in our program who, they don't get a lot of time, and I get them what I can, but those guys, I believe, feel that they're an important piece of this. They're an important piece of our chemistry, our day-to-day, what we go about day-to-day with our work. And I think that's part of my job to make them feel that way.
this is a touchy subject to me because I don't like to see that in programs, and when I see that in programs, you know, who do you look at? Do you look at the coach? You look at the player? Who do you look at when this is allowed to go on in programs? Because I've seen it with many high schools where they allow their top players to act a certain way. Other players complain about it. I've been in this business for about 41 years. Been with Jerry for about 30 years. And we've seen it. Parents talk to us about it. So it's really a touchy subject to me, and I hate to see that. But before I get to my next question, who do you look at, you know, when something like that disrupts a team? Do you look at the coach? Where does it go?
Well, you always start with the coach. I mean, you have to start with the coach. If you let it grow like cancer, if it grows, you have to start with the coach. I mean, that doesn't take away the accountability, the responsibility from the actual kid or kids that is doing it, but it's the program is the head coach responsibility to make sure everything runs right.
You guys agree with that as well?
Yeah, I'd say, everything goes with the coach. We expect our kids to be accountable. The coach has to be accountable as well. You're not doing your program any favors when you give special treatment, and sacrifice, get a win or two. The long-term effects of your program is going to be poor. I mean, I don't think anybody looks or respects a program that would have that kind of situation. It's just, and those programs don't survive. Coaches aren't going to survive treating kids that way. So, everybody should be held accountable, and it starts at the top.
Coach Bissutti?
When something's not right, I always feel like I have to start with myself. And that's my approach. I think the thing to keep in mind here also is if you have a player that's kind of in that mode attitude-wise, it's real easy to feel like giving up sometimes, but you can't. I think you have to stick with the kid and try to counsel him, try to coach him. It might not happen overnight. I mean, heck, I've had some guys who never got it their 4 years, and then they got it after they left and came back and said, Coach, I got it now. I know what you were trying to do.
I think that sometimes, or do you think that sometimes a coach deals with so much from, these star players or players that sometimes they just say, okay, I'm just going to throw my hands up. I'm just going to deal with it and hurry up and get this season over. Do you think that happens? Does that happen?
Well, I don't know about throw your hands up and get through it and deal with it. I don't know about that. I mean,
because they can't handle the guy, or there's nothing they can do to stop it. Where there is, but they don't know what to do, or maybe they don't want to do anything.
Well, I mean, maybe there's some politics or something behind the situation that they're dealing with that's dragging on them also. I mean, I wouldn't know. I'm going to probably never throw my hands up with a situation because besides the basketball part of coaching, that's what we're in it for, mentoring.
Yes.
And making these kids better men when they cross that stage. So if to throw your hands up, I mean, you're giving up on a kid or giving up on numerous kids. If one kid see another kid get away with it, you're hurting some of the other kids, maybe an up-and-coming freshman that wants to be coached hard. As the other coaches said, most of their guys wanted that. If a kid who wants that, they see you allow another kid get away with certain things, that's going to affect them in years to come.
Now, I don't know if you coaches have had disrespectful kids. There's a difference in all the years that I coach. Yes, you have young men that talk back. You have young men that may have a smart mouth. When you've been coaching as long as all of us have for years, you're going to have that. But there's a difference. There's a difference in talking back to being disrespectful, just totally being disrespectful. How have you coaches handled having disrespectful kids on your team that really doesn't listen to you, doesn't respect you as a coach, doesn't respect the program, how have you handled that, if you've had that? And if you haven't, it's a two-part question. How would you handle it? Coach Calo.
Well, you know, I've been coaching a long time, so you deal with a lot of different kids, and kids come from different backgrounds, and you have to have some kind of understanding of where they're coming from, and sometimes that's difficult. You have to get to the core of, you know, what really motivated them to act a certain way. You have to, you have to coach them, you have to counsel them, you have to know that you let them know that you're there for them all the time. You know, we will try to mentor our kids as best we can. If a kid doesn't get it, you know, we're not going to tolerate it. It's something that, you know, the bench is a great teacher. If that's not good enough, of course, you have to cut out, you cut out cancer. You don't put up with cancer. It's never good for your program. It's not good for anybody around it. It brings everybody else down. So, you know, even a talented kid, you know, I'd rather coach toughness and discipline than I would talent. You know, I mean, we're going to have kids come going. And I think that, you know, the message that is lost sometimes is you're not doing a young man, any kind of favors by giving them special treatment, because that special treatment is going to end some point in time for them. If they go on to college, they're good enough to play college basketball. They're just one of many right now. And, you know, they don't know how to deal with adversity or criticism or any of that. You haven't helped them.
Coach Bissutti.
I mean, when it gets to that degree, you know, hopefully you've done your work before, get to know the kid better, know the home situation, know what's happening in school, and, you know, try to counsel. But, you know, I've gotten the longer I've been in this, and, you know, we are big on this now, is that I cannot deal with negative body language on the court, practice, game, whatever it is. But I also feel like I have to know what makes that guy tick, what is the best way to coach him. You know, I believe in different methods for different guys for sure. I subscribe to that within the realm of not showing favoritism, obviously, like we've talked about. If there were a formula for it, everybody would have it and nobody would have any problems. So, you know, it's just a matter of, you know, dealing with it. Again, trying to stick with guys and not giving up on them. And, you know, what you talked about earlier, you know, throwing up your hands, that type of thing. This is a mentally fatiguing gig. You know, it's an easy thing to do if you let yourself, you know, fall into that. You just have to fight it as a coach, and you know, just do your best and try to do what's best for the kid in the end of it, and also what's best for the team. You know, and I would say I'm going to overemphasize in favor of the team for sure, unless I have a serious concern about that young man.
Coach Rice.
The way you put it and everything, I couldn't see myself. I think it's too bad once the kid is disrespectful and the way you stated it. It would never get that bad. You understand? I'm just, I would stop that way before it got that bad. You know, I dealt with a kid like that before from another school. He came over to transfer, and like I said, it's just the love and the care that you give. I don't think the disrespect and just that wouldn't last at all in my program or anywhere. Because again, as a man, you don't want the child to be disrespectful to any adult, like even your teachers. Like we have problems with their disrespectful to teachers, and again, as they stated, is the better player you are, the better you are, the more. I always tell my kids when I was in high school with Coach Pennell, it was, I mean, we couldn't arrive to practice late 1 minute because we were good. So the better we were, the less mistakes you could. So the better a kid is, the more responsibility and accountability I approach him with. And that's just helping him more, like they stated, when they go to college. When you go to college and you're anything like that, a lot of these parents and people don't understand, I mean, you're dealing with a college coach that's making 6 or 7 figures a year. You know they're not going to tolerate that at all. So I just, I try to help kids along the way understand that. You know, it's just, but when a kid is that bad and they're outspoken or they're cussing you out, that's really coming from home. That's the disrespect started at home for the coach or for the program. Somebody's at home is reassuring this child
that it's okay.
That it's okay.
Hey, we'll be right back. Coaches, we're going to take a minute break, and we'll be right back with more from these legends, coaches, and I'm so excited to have them here, but we'll be right back in a minute. We're back with some of the legends of high school basketball here in Central Ohio. Coach Bissutti from Bishop Reedy, Coach Calo from Westerville South, and Coach Rice from Briggs. You know, it's been a great conversation thus far. I know there's a lot of people that's going to be watching this show because they're interested in the topic for today, discipline and consequences, and how it affects a program. One of the other questions that I have for you coaches are, do you have your players sign a code of conduct before the season, and why? It's a two-part. And why is that so important for players to sign that, Coach Rice?
I've always had them sign a code of conduct, but more importantly, the parents sign a code of conduct. You know, again, that's just important, just to have like a little, something like a contract within the kids, and the understanding, you know, just how we want things to go, you know, and again, with the climate, way things are now, the parents play such a part, especially with, they didn't do that when I was playing, as especially with, I think, the negative angles of, you know, they don't allow us to coach and run our programs how we should, the men is doing it how they should. So that code of conduct for them is very important.
Coach Bissutti? It doesn't matter either one.
I've done that in the past. I do not do that at Bishop Reedy. It's very simple here. Our rules are the school's rules, and the school's pretty stringent, you know, with how we're going to act and how we're going to operate. We do have a program-wide parent meeting beginning of the season, along with the athletic department, and you know, all my stops, I could not have been worked with or for better people, better administrations, ultra supportive in all the places I've been. I've been very lucky in that. And the parents that I've encountered have been very supportive, you know, for the most part. You know, you always run into something here and there, but, you know, we just kind of, you know, just do the right thing. Just do the right thing is what we talk about. Treat people right. But to answer your question specifically at this point, no, I do not do have them sign contracts.
Coach Calo?
No, I've never had a contract, actually. You know, I think that what Coach Rice was talking about, as far as it's important to have an understanding, I think is a critical point. It's important to establish an understanding. Whether you have a contract or not a contract. We do have a parent meeting at the beginning of the year all the time. We pretty much set out our expectations, how we expect our players to act, how we expect our parents to act. You know, so, you know, we put it out there. And that's it needs to be understood, and but no official contract.
Okay, so you don't have one. You guys don't have one. He does. I think some programs may not need them when you have, you know, when your players know already that there's a certain expectation that you expect from them, that you have with your program. And I think some players need them because it covers them. It's like, okay, well, we had this code of contract, but yet you're acting like this. So let's go over this, because this is why I'm suspending you for a game, or this is why you're not starting a game, because you did this and this was not allowed. Or parents, when parents totally disrespect coaches, whether it's a phone call, cussing them out, disrespecting them, or they come out the stands You know, I guess sometimes that happens, but you two coaches, and I don't know if you've ever experienced it with parents, haven't probably experienced that where you're at. Have you ever experienced that before?
What experience?
Parents being disrespectful, blatantly disrespectful, phone calls, whatever it might be.
I mean, just like you said, it's different levels. I mean, I haven't really experienced it one-on-one. You hear grumblings. But I had a great AD. We're in the transition now with Doug Jones, that those things will always go through him. He always set that up in parent meetings and then we'll sit down and we'll talk. You know, we got a policy where right after the game, you don't do anything with the head coach. You can set up a meeting if you really have a problem. So I never really experienced the one-on-one, just blatant disrespect.
Okay. Does it happen? Has it happened to you guys at all with parents?
You know, parents are parents. I mean, they have, I tell our kids that, you know, if they have somebody advocating for them and they're really concerned about them, you should feel fortunate. You should feel blessed. I don't take that to heart very often, as far as, you know, they're parents, and I expect them to be supportive of their child, but they also need to understand where I'm coming from, and we will not tolerate any kind of improper behavior. We don't talk about playing time. You know, that's really usually their complaint or the root of the complaint. I will never talk about playing time with a parent. That's just not the topic that we'll broach. I treat everybody fairly. I try to treat everybody fairly. Tony was talking about earlier about, that doesn't mean you treat everybody the same. I treat everybody differently because kids are different. You know, the days of Vince Lombardi where, he used to say, they used to say Vince treats everybody the same. He treats them like dogs. Those days are over. Everybody's different. Everybody should be treated properly, fairly, but not necessarily equally, because they are different. We try to reach our kids in different ways. But I don't concern myself with parents, maybe because I'm so old at this point in time. I really don't. You just try to follow a certain path, do the right thing. And as long as I'm doing that, and I expect my principal and my athletic director to hold me accountable. And as long as I'm doing the right thing, I don't worry about, anything the parent has to say.
Coach, I'm going to get to you, but I want to bring in another legend from Ohio, from Akron St.Vincent St.Mary. Coach Dru Joyce is ready to join us, and he's going to pop in here. Coach, how you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's been a little bit trying this morning, trying to get this cooked up, but if y'all hear me, I can see you, and everything is good now.
Coach, Coach Rice from Briggs, Coach Calo from Westerville South, and Coach Bissutti from Bishop Reedy. I'm sure you guys all know each other.
I know faces. Haven't had the pleasure necessarily of having conversations with the gentleman, but definitely know faces, yes.
Well, the top two above you are Hall of Fame coaches, and this is a future Hall of Fame coach. So, it's a pleasure for me. But, Coach, I just asked a question. It's been a very good show thus far on discipline and consequences. But I just asked a question to the coaches about disrespectful parents and how they've handled that. And I know you've dealt with a lot of big-time players. And, I don't know if you've dealt with disrespectful parents, but how have you handled that? And if you have, how do you handle disrespectful parents, whether they're calling you on the phone or just being blatantly disrespectful because their sons may not be playing as much as they thought, or because you're not playing him at the position they want you to play him at, or whatever the case may be?
Yeah, I heard gentlemen before me, talk about some of the things that his program that they don't allow. And, we open the season with a parent meeting, and, I tell the parents or at that meeting that, I will have an open door policy. I want to have interaction with you and about your child, because, you love your child, and I got to honor the fact that you love your child, and you want to be an advocate for them. But as Coach said, there's three things that we don't talk about. We don't talk about playing time, strategy, or another player. And, and I respectfully say to my parents at that parent meeting that I know that they're undefeated. I wish I were. I'm not. And, but if you can allow me to do my job, then, I can respect that, because I'm not coming into your business, your workplace, and telling you how to be the best doctor, how to be the best lawyer, how to be the best fireman, how to be the best police officer. So even though you're undefeated, and I get it, allow me to make the mistakes and try to fix this thing the best way. And, I definitely agree that kids are different today, and you have to treat them and coach them differently. That requires some skill on our part as coaches, because that's not how we came up. We came up with a coach, hey, they cuss us out, and he cussed everybody out, and I've had some players honestly come to me and say, hey, Coach Dru, I just don't do good when you holler at me. And I had to respect that. And I told him, hey, look, I honestly, I'm going to try not to. But, I can't guarantee that I won't. But I definitely have, made that kind of understanding with a young man, and I'll pull him aside and we'll have a conversation. It doesn't always work, but, I need to respect that this young man had enough courage to come and ask me to deal with him in a different way, and I need to honor that. So I've tried to do the best, but the one thing that I think that helps out, I've had that parent in my office, and they definitely believe that everything that they've done with their son is right, and everything we've done with their son is wrong. But usually, when you have that, I make it definitely a practice that the parent and the player have to come into the office and talk. And when we do it that way, 9 times out of 10, parents start to see things differently, because now the kid can't. You can't tell him a story. He's got to deal with the hard truth of where he stands and what he's doing in the program.
Okay, so Coach Bissutti, your thoughts on that?
So, in regards to parents, I tell them, if you feel your son's being mistreated, I want to hear from you. If you feel there's something I need to know in regards to his safety or well-being, I want to hear from you. Pretty much anything else, I'm not really interested in opinion. I don't feel I have to have a relationship with the parents. It's nice if I do. It's nice when it happens. I need to have a relationship with the player. So, we try to we meet with a player every day, at least a player, about something. Just try to head things off. And I can't control what parents say, but I can control, or try to control, and help the player deal with that. We talk a lot to our players about coaching your parents up, coaching them up on what the situation is, how this operates, what the expectations are. So, again, I'm trying to create that relationship with the players in this to help them deal with it. And I totally agree with Coach Joyce. If there is a meeting, it's a 3-way meeting. We're all gonna be in there, and we're not keeping secrets from each other.
So what you all are actually saying is that it really starts from the beginning of the season, when you have that parent meeting and you really kind of set the tone, and you have the meeting with the kids and say, this is what we will not tolerate. I have an open door policy. If you want to talk to me, then we'll talk then. Not after a game, not in the heat of the moment, but we'll talk then. And then, like Coach Joyce said, these are the things that we will not talk about, playing time and different things like that. Now, let's say, for example, you don't have that parent meeting, and you don't have that code of conduct signed, and you don't let your players know what the expectations are. And then it just gets worse and worse and worse. Where's that blame go to? Who's that blame go to when you start having all types of problems in your program and you start, and it starts trickling down with all the kids? How would you handle, or what advice would you give to someone on a situation like that, Coach?
Well, it's different levels. I mean, like I said, some of these coaches have had very, very, very talented players. And as I stated earlier, I mean, it starts with the head coach. Any kind of problems of that type with the whole team starts with the head coach. I mean, you have to hold, if you have a super player, then you got to look in that direction also of his leadership. You understand what I'm saying? So I always start at the top with the head coach with problems trickling down, and the coaching staff, not just the head coach. I mean, that's what you hire assistant coaches for. So some people can help you with that, with those things. So the coaching staff, you should have a strong coaching staff. Like I think Coach Joyce or someone stated about how a kid not wanting to be yelled at. Well, if I yell at him as the head coach, anytime a kid come out my game, and if I yell, I always send my assistant coach down the end and go talk to him, so that he can get the understanding what he came out the game for. I mean, whatever the case, we don't owe him that, but just to make sure he understands that. So your coaching staff should be very strong too with that.
Coach Calo?
Well, we all have an opportunity at the very beginning of the season to establish structure. We have that opportunity, and to create discipline. We have that opportunity. So if you don't do that, then you're responsible. I mean, I just can't see how accountability can be placed on anybody else. If it's your program, then you do what you're supposed to do, and you take care of business. And again, you structure it so that kids can be productive.
Coach Bissutti.
I mean, I remember being a young coach and so wrapped up into X's and O's and concerned about that. And, you really learn over time the importance, everybody uses the word culture, and this all falls into that. My recommendation, the best advice I could give to a young coach is, and I wasn't good at this early in my career. I had to grow and get better, but really work at connecting with your players. X's and O's, they certainly have their importance and their place, but the culture items, the other things are, if not equally as important, more so.
Coach Joyce?
Hey, I agree with Coach. The culture is set by the head coach first, and it trickles down. And there's no excuse if you don't set the standard, if you don't have some principles that your program is founded around that you will not change or lower, then shame on you, because that's not what the kids want. The kids want the structure, even though it may seem like that's not the truth. The real truth is the kids really want that kind of structure, and they need to see it. And I tell my guys all the time, no one's bigger than the program. I don't care who you are, from LeBron James all the way down. That's how it's always been with me, and that's how it's always going to be. We have a standard, and you're going to live up to this standard, and we're not going to lower the standard. That has to happen. And I tell young coaches that going in, that you need to find some values, some principles that mean something to you. They don't have to be the ones I choose, but something that means something to you. And and I also just remind them that coaching, it's a sacred responsibility, and I'm sure the coaches will agree with me that we get the opportunity to pour our lives into the life of young men at a very impressionable and impactful age. We need to honor that. And so I implore young coaches to honor that by setting up a standard, by having things in place that the young men understand that this is that you're part of something bigger than you, and for all of us to be successful, we all have to. All of us, as Coach said, it's not just the head coach; it's the assistants, all the way down to the manager. Everybody's got to buy in.
Coach, I'm going to ask you a question that I've asked the other coaches on here with us today. And before I get to the next question, but I want to ask you this question, Coach Joyce. You've had a very successful program at Akron St.Vincent St.Mary. I've known you for a long time and first-class coach, but I know you're a disciplinarian at the same time. How important is it to have a disciplined program?
That's one of the core values of our program is discipline. And I think that you just can't get it done if you don't have a disciplined approach. If you don't have some standards, some things that are acceptable and some things that are not. I mean, it's all the way about even how you play. You have that discipline. Can't just be a word on the wall. It has to be in everything that you do. How you warm up. How you respectfully line up for the Pledge of Allegiance before a game. How you handle how teammates handle the relationships between themselves. The discipline. It's not just about beating someone up. I tell the kids all the time, I'm going to be very demanding, but I'm not going to be demeaning. I'm going to demand things from you, but I'm never going to tear you down. I try hard to not even curse at the kids. Not that I'm perfect, because I if you bring a kid in and say, "Has Coach you ever cursed at?" Yeah, but I try not to, and I try not to I make sure that even in if I do curse, it's not a word that's directed at them. It's more directed at what the action. So, but yeah, you have to be demanding. You have to demand certain things. But again, you're not to ever be demeaning. Never tear a kid down. And I like as Coach said, when I'm missing this year an assistant coach who was that coach on the bench for me when I brought someone out of the game. I immediately sent the kids to him, and Ilya McGee passed away, and he was that coach for me, and he would then explain to the young man exactly what's going on, and I think that's important. And I'm now grooming another young man to take that spot and to honor that position on our bench.
Hey, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Hey, welcome back to Coach Howard's Basketball Show, and I'm so honored I have legends of the game on with me today, and it's really an honor to have Coach Joyce on, Coach Calo, Coach Bissutti, and Coach Rice, as we talk about discipline and consequences and how certain things can affect your program. Coach, first of all, I want to say that I know you guys had a death in your basketball family here recently. Our prayers are with you. How is your team doing?
The team is doing well, and I'm not sure if you're referring to Ilya McGee, but we also just lost John Wharton, who.
That's who I was talking about, John Wharton. I'm sorry, Coach.
John, he's a Columbus guy. And,
yep.
He's was just a great parent. You know, he's the kind of parent that you want around your program. He was just supportive of everything we did, and he came and would help out in any kind of way. So we're trying to wrap our arms around his son, and you know, let him know that he's loved and that, you know, we're going to be there for him.
Yeah, we want to send our prayers out to you. Coach Rice knew John, you know, and I don't know if you guys knew John, Big John from Columbus, went to Westone, right? Yeah, went to Westone. Yeah, he was around a long time, Coach Calo and Coach Bissutti. Played at Westone, big guy, about 6'8". That was my guy, me and Jerry's guy, and was just a good guy. When Jerry called me the other day and told me that Jerry had just saw him down at Flying to the Hoop, and you know, I seen him not too long ago, and it's just a tragic. But we send our prayers to you and the St. V's family and to his family, Coach.
Thank you.
Question: how do you guys handle drugs in your program? Marijuana. Let's talk about marijuana. How do you handle players? Do you drug test? How do you handle players smoking marijuana that you know they're smoking? How do you handle that in your program? Coach Rice, I'm start with you.
We don't drug test. And it's hard for me to know that they're smoking marijuana without them telling me, and I can't put that on them. I hope they wouldn't come to practice, you know, smelling that way or visibly me being able to tell that. So I really haven't had too many problems with that because I wouldn't know. I mean, I leave that privacy part. I'm not going to get involved in that if you're taking care of business or anything of that nature.
Okay. Coach Joyce?
Yeah, here at the school started a kind of a random drug testing, you know, a couple years ago, right before COVID. And, you know, with all this going on with COVID, they've kind of walked away from it. But, you know, as Coach Rice said, that, you know, if they haven't told me or a player hasn't told me or they haven't gotten in any trouble, I wouldn't know. And, you know, honestly, you know, we've been blessed to have some, you know, pretty high character young men in our program. So it has not been a problem with me that, you know, I've honestly had to deal with.
Coach Calo?
Yeah, we're kind of the same way as far as, you know, we don't have I'm not real familiar with situations that exist like that, fortunately. If a kid's behavior starts to change, if we get a referral from a teacher or some kind of information, we do have an athletic policy in regard to drugs and alcohol that we will follow. Again, it's structured so that we can help a young man be better. But we certainly don't expect our players to act that way. We do talk about making sure that they follow school rules and they follow the, you know, discipline procedure, and then we would deal with something if it was addressed to us.
Coach Bissutti?
When I coached in Dublin, for a while we had a random drug test policy that eventually was done away with. There's nothing like that here at Reedy, or to my knowledge in the diocese athletically here in Columbus. So, you know, like the other coaches said, unless you get hit in the face with something, you know, we talk about it. You know, doing the right things and choices and the impact negative choices can have on the team. I'll also say if something's brought to my attention, if there are rumors, I'll address it with the player. And if I feel I need to let the parents know about it, I'll address it with the parents as, you know, hey, this is out there. This is what's being said. You're the parent. I would want to know if I was a parent. So I'm telling you. And to me, that's about what we can do.
How important is it, coaches, how important are your assistant coaches to you? How important is it for a head coach to support their assistant coaches? And then how important is it for the role that the assistant, it's a two-part question. How important is it to be supportive of your assistant coach so they'll know that you do support them, that you do have their back? And how important is it for assistant coaches? How important are assistant coaches in your program as far as dealing with kids, as far as you being able to step back and your kids be able to go to your assistant coaches, to trust them, to have that relationship with them? Tony?
My assistant coaches are very important. I mean, I put them in place, off the respect of, first of all, like I said, I'm the leader, so the way I carry myself, the expectation is for them to carry themselves. So I'm always have their back. A lot of times the way I move and the things I do, whether it's out in the public and everything, I like to make sure I maintain good decisions and things for my assistant coaches so that doesn't fall on them. And I believe they do the same. So I'm always have my assistant coaches back. I definitely let the kids, they have their own personal relationships with the kids because, again, just like the father in the household, I set that tone so they can go to them and have that relationship with the assistant coach where they can talk to them. Maybe my assistant coaches get out a little bit more information that I couldn't get because they may think the head coach is mean. You know how those, I can't talk to the head coach at times. My assistant coaches, I have a couple guys that's a little younger that they can relate to the music and, like you said, the culture. So my assistant coaches are very, very important. They're stern also. And again, the structure of it is, I won't tolerate no disrespect. You definitely, you have a better chance of disrespecting me than disrespecting my assistant coaches because I'm going to really come down hard on you if you don't listen or respect my assistant coaches.
Coach Bissutti.
I'm pretty lucky in the fact that I have a young staff, and I kind of like it that way. Over the years, sometimes you have a staff where you kind of get ingrained to each other and you're all the same and it's the same voice. And I don't want that. I want different voices. If I'm going to be firm, I need a guy that's going to put his arm around a guy. If I'm going to put my arm around a guy, maybe a guy that, gets a little firmer. So, we all have our roles, I think, with different kids. And, I'm an old guy. I try to stay pretty hip to what's going on. I don't feel I feel I do an okay job of that. I'm not great at it. I'm okay, but I got my younger assistants to help pick up the slack for that, and they're pretty good at that. And I try to give them as much responsibility as they're ready for and as they want, in regards to our system and our style and how we're going to carry ourselves on the bench. I couldn't have any more positive to say about our guys. They're great, and they don't make a whole lot of money in what they do, and they're giving of their time, not just in season but out of season. It's something to be admired.
Coach Calo, I know that your assistants. I spoke with both of them the other night for a second, and I told one of them, the tallest guy, I can't remember his name, but he's been with you forever and a day. I said, I guess you ain't going nowhere. You're going to retire from here as well. And he started laughing. But your assistants have been with you for a long time, man. You guys have rode this train. How important are your assistants to you, and how important is it that your assistants know that you support them and you have their back?
Well, I can't get rid of them. I mean, they're just, they've been with me forever. No, I love them. I do. I think they're fantastic. I appreciate them. I appreciate all they do and how hard they work. Tony mentions they don't get paid much. They don't get paid anything. They're doing it for the love of the game. They're doing it for the love of the program. They're doing it for supporting me. I mean, they're just awesome. I appreciate the fact that they've been with me for so long. The fact that I have 3 assistant coaches that have been with me for over 25 years, and one has been with me for every year that I've been there. I think that's an amazing thing that, they know exactly what I want, exactly what I expect. They know exactly how to treat kids. We do have younger people come in and help us. I've had probably over 10 former players come in and assist for a year or 2 or 3 or 4, serve at a different level. They also know exactly what I want and what I expect. There's a loyalty factor there that can't be compromised. And certainly has to be appreciated greatly. I think that having assistant coaches, it's a two-way street. I expect certain things from them. They know exactly what I expect from them. In the meantime, they know that I'm going to give them the same respect. They know that I'm going to, if they have separate goals to leave the program, then I'm going to be there trying to find a place for them and give them all the resources that I have. Everything that I know and everything that I have is theirs. So, again, I feel very fortunate. My situation has been very special.
Hey, Coach Dru, hold your thought. We're going to take a commercial break, but during the commercial break, Coach Bissutti and Coach Calo will step away. They've stayed longer than I asked them to, and I just want to thank both of you very, very much for coming on the show. I've known you both for a very long time, and you'll still continue to see my face around and bug you. But hey, I love you both, man, and I thank you so much for coming on the show and answering these questions and giving the people watching some insight on your thoughts on how important it is to have discipline and the consequences for the discipline on the show. Thank you both very much. Good luck in the tournament. Don't forget to watch, if you get a chance, next Sunday at 6 o'clock, as we will have the Central Ohio, our tournament show with Zach Flair, myself, Jerry Watson, and Jake Spiegel. So we'll be doing that tournament show next week. But thank you guys, and we'll be right back after this commercial with the legendary Coach Dru Joyce. Thank you, coaches.
Thanks, George. Thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
All right. Coaches, good luck to you. I enjoyed listening to you.
Hello, I am Annie J. Ross Womack, the Executive Director of the Ohio Sickle Cell and Health Association, and I'm here to talk to the parents and student athletes about a very important topic. The NCAA has instituted different standards for all divisions of student athletes. Before you can play sports in any college or university, you must present a negative trait status or hemoglobin status documentation. Your hemoglobin status is taken at birth with the newborn screening. And what they do is they run your blood for any abnormality or any birth defect. There are thousands of newborn screening birth defects in this country. For more information about sickle cell disease, sickle cell trait testing, you can call our offices at 614-228-0157. Or you can visit us via web at ohiosicklecell.org.
Hey, welcome back to the Coach Howard Basketball Show. And of course, as you know, I've got a true Hall of Fame legend on, and I mean those exact words. Coach Dru Joyce from Akron St.Vincent St.Mary is still on the show with us. The other coaches stayed on with us longer than they were supposed to, and I appreciate that. Still got Coach Rice on the show as my in-studio guest, and thanks, Coach, for being with me today as well. Coach, can you go ahead and finish answering that question of how important it is for your assistants to know that you support them in every way and you have their back, and at the same time, how important are your assistants to you and the program?
It's of utmost importance. I tell the guys all the time that the success that we've had. I might be the face of it, but it didn't begin with me. It doesn't end with me. And without them, the success that we've had probably wouldn't be to the level it's been. I've had some great men around me, and who support me and in just work beyond, it's honestly beyond words to explain how much of the support they've given me. So, I support them in the same way. I make sure that, that everyone understands and knows the respect that I have for the older gentlemen that have been with me for over 15 years. And they've been helpful in my growth because, hey, I tell people all the time, I grew up playing football. This was not my thing, basketball. So I know what my strength is, and I learned in corporate America, you manage to your strength, your staff to your weakness. So I put guys around me who've been on the floor playing it, and that's been great. So those guys. Ilya McGee, may he rest in peace, and then Tron Roden and Mike Menier. Those are guys who played a lot of basketball coming up, and they had been great on my staff. And now, as Coach Cato said, I got some really great young players who are now involved, former players who just love the program and come in and give back. And it's been exciting to have those guys come back, and it's what's made our program strong. Even before they come back and as an assistant, they come back and just help through a practice. And the guys who played professionally, even LeBron has come in, and some of the other guys who played overseas, and it's inspiring to the young men in the program to see those kind of players still involved and wanting to be attached to everything we do, and then more importantly, I'm putting in place now a succession plan. I intend to stay around for at least 3 more years, but beyond that, I'm not sure. And I have now put in place the young man who I believe will, replace me, and I'm excited for him and his growth, and it's I just want to make sure that. When I step away, that I'm not stepping away, leaving the program in a shambles. I want to hand it off to him, and it be at that level where he can keep running and keep this train moving.
Well, if it's who I think it is, I think he'll be ready. If it's who I think it is, and I'm just speculating. I'm just but if it's who I think it is, I think that he'll do a great job. I think that. He knows the game, and I think he'll do a great job. But I could be wrong on who I think it is. So if you don't have a question, I want to ask you. Do you have anything to ask yet?
No, you can start it.
I want to ask you. You've won how many state titles, Coach?
7 as the head coach, and I was the assistant for 2.
So you've won a total of 9 state titles as a coach at Akron St.Vincent St.Mary. That's just wow. That's unbelievable. But the question I have for you is, how do you keep your team on even keel after you win a state championship and you bring most of your players back again the next year? How do you keep them grounded mentally? That's the part right there, is mental. To say, hey, what we did last year was last year. This is a whole new season. We can't ride on that bus no more. How have you been able to, year after year, keep that train moving and continue to come back and continue to win and be successful? Because even the times that you didn't win the state, you were there. So how have you managed to do that?
I came into this, with some kids that I started coaching at 10 years old, and they just happened to be a great, great group of guys, and thought that when they got to that 14 and under AAU national, that was it for me. You know, I thought that, hey, I go down and coach some fourth graders, but Dan Brott asked me to come on as an assistant coach. And so you know, he's the coaching mentor to me. And, you know, I've done a lot of the things that our program is built around has been, you know, things that I learned and he shared with me. And, you know, so early on, you know, I came into a situation where I was inheriting a nationally ranked team, and you know, I had to come to terms with, if we won, it was going to be because they were Coach Dambrot's kids, and if we lost, it was going to be because it was me, and we lost. So you
I
know,
remember that.
it was. Yeah, it was very humbling at the very beginning. So I had to understand and realize that, you know, just, you know, that after that loss, that I had to help that group, you know, refocus and help them to recognize that, you know, the great thing about our creation, the Creator has given us. Every day is a new day. You can start it over, and you know, whatever happened the day before is gone. And you know, if it's important that, you know, that you live in the present moment, and your present moment will build that future. So we talk about those things. You know, we bring the kids in, and over the years, you know, after that first loss in that first year, and then we come back and we win, and win that mythical national championship. And you know, now we got this thing rolling, and what it is every year those kids come in, we always got seniors who are leaving, and you know, those underclassmen, it's now their turn. It's you know, we talk about it. We say hey, come on, it's your turn to write your chapter. This is a never-ending story. You got to write your chapter, and you can't. You know, if you wasn't part of last year's thing, okay, great, but you know, now it's yours. And you know, we've got a group like this year. I'm trying to help them understand that, you know what, y'all got to have an opportunity that, you know, isn't afforded to too many schools in the state of Ohio. You know, we did it in 2019. We moved up from Division II to Division I and got all the way to the championship game. Lost to a undefeated Moeller team, but we didn't get it done. This year, I'm you know, helping these young men understand that, hey, I don't know, and I could be wrong. You know, I'm not that much of a historian beyond my years of coaching, but I don't think anyone has ever moved up from Division II to Division I and won a state championship. So this is an opportunity that, you know, we need to embrace. And so, you know, but that's the part of the never ending story. We got to, you know, we create that opportunity for these young men to recognize that, okay, I can build this. I can build this. I can add my chapter, and they buy in, and that's what's been great. And then when you got the guys from the former years come back, and they're telling them the same thing, you know, hey, we got ours, it's your turn. And so that's just powerful, you know. And the kids are just about something bigger than themselves. And that, you know, whenever you can sell somebody else that they're part of something bigger than themselves, great things can happen.
Coach, I want to thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you. Now, hopefully, I'm going to talk to my director over there. We'll have a Final Four show, and I'll be able to call you again and bring you on one more time. But that'll be a Final Four show, Coach. But thank you very, very much. I appreciate you. And good luck in the tournament, the rest of the season in the tournament. And once again, our prayers are with you. But thank you very much. I want to thank Coach Rice for being on the show with me, yes, my sir. Guy. And good luck for the rest of your season. And I'll be right back to close it out on a Coach Howard basketball show. Thank you, coaches.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's it's an honor to be able to talk basketball with other great men of the game. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. Be right back. Hey, welcome back to the Coach Hour Basketball Show. What a show it was today. I really enjoyed having these legends on my show with Coach Rice, Coach Dru Joyce of Akron St.Vincent St.Mary, Coach Calo from Westerville South, and Coach Bissutti out of Bishop Reedy. As we talked about discipline and consequences and how important it is to a program to have discipline. This was a subject that was dear to my heart. Something that's been bothering me for a while, and I wanted to do this show just to hear from some of the guys that have been doing this for a while on how they run their programs and what their ideas and thoughts are on some of the questions that I asked. Don't forget next Sunday, our tournament selection show right here on Yamo Media Columbus with my special guest, Zach Fleer from 270 Hoops, Jake Spiegel from 270 Hoops, and the legend himself, Jerry Watson, as we will talk about the tournament coming up, the seedings, who we think is going to make it out of this region, where some of the upsets will come from, and I'm looking forward to that because that's going to be very exciting. So tune in next Sunday at 6 p.m. for the Coach Howard's Basketball Tournament Show. Thank you very much for tuning in. And I'll see you soon. I appreciate you. Much love. Bye-bye.